Hey, it's Julie
And Pete.
from Rush the Bus.
Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We have a good show for you today.
We do.
Who are we speaking with, Peter?
Today we're speaking with Robert McEvoy.
Robert.
And, sounds regal,
Rob
right?
It is very regal. Rob and Pete used to be partners, and then he went to work somewhere else, and I stole Pete. But we speak with Rob today about how it's going and how his new job is and what he's been up to.
His 10-minute commute. So
yes,
mildly jealous about his 10-minute commute. So
yeah. So we hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you will.
Yeah. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, and then check out and our brand new TikTok.
Yeah, so we have a brand new TikTok, and if you go to TikTok and look up official_Rush the Bus, you shall find us, and we hope you like it. And we've got, some of the same content and some different content.
But I don't know how we're going to do this yet.
Yeah, we're new to TikTok.
Yeah.
So but check it out and like it and follow it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye.
So Rush the Bus behind the 744 Gates Avenue and 750 Gates Avenue.
It didn't feel good. So
really.
Yeah. Yep. So good morning. We finally got Rob. Mr. Robert McEvoy.
In the flesh.
Former partner in the flesh. Yep. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Oh, wow. Good to finally get with you guys.
I know. It's been a while and a journey trying to get you on here.
Yeah, I know. It's just the fourth attempt, I think. I lost count.
Yeah, it's all right. Kids ruin everything.
Yeah, I know.
There's no
Worst thing we ever had happen.
I know. Why do people have kids? I don't.
Don't you guys? I'm like, you can think these things, but don't save it for posterity.
I'm sorry.
We really love.
I could edit this out. I could edit
just
that.
A challenge.
I love my children. Worst thing ever. I love my children.
Yep. All right, Rob.
How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Well.
How are you?
Good.
How's Long Island? How's Long Island going?
Long Island is the best, I gotta tell you. It's not quite nearly the same energy and mentality that you guys have to deal with out there, but it's nice. It's just nice. That's all I gotta say.
How's long as your commute?
Well, that depends. If I have to step over a dog when I get out of bed, it can be as high as 7 minutes, but it's 5 to 6 minutes.
Wow, that's quite different.
I'm a little jealous of that. I wish, I wish it was closer, but
it's really the main reason I did it. I mean, that.
Yeah. It's all right.
I keep trying to keep up with you guys because it's still good to get the fun information, the fun stories that I'm missing out on.
Yeah, but you still call me, and you still have a lot. Some juice over here because I get a phone call.
Yeah, it's like a stray arrow in the face kind of stuff. No big deal.
I wish they would let folks do a per diem situation, if
I've said it a million times. If they did that, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Question.
Yep. Go work for one of the private hospitals and make way more money.
A lot more money.
Yeah.
A lot more money. So
So yeah, Rob used to work on the same ambulance that I work with. Peter and Rob were partners before I was Peter's partner. So we should actually fight to the death is what I'm saying, Rob.
Can I choose a champion to fight in my stead? Because I feel like it's a losing battle for me.
All right. So Rob, where do you live?
I live in Lake Grove, way out on Long Island. For anyone who asks, usually city dwellers like to ask, what's the exit on the expressway? And it's 61 or 62.
Oh my God.
Get off over here.
How many exits are there?
73, 74, I think 74.
Wow. That's pretty
That's
far.
far.
But they come, Nassau County border, Nassau area, they're real close together. But once you hit my exit, they start to stretch out and there's miles in between. So
Okay.
Yeah.
it gets a little further out there.
What year did you, what made you get on the ambulance, Rob? Because I know nobody's in your family's on the ambulance.
Well, actually, believe it or not, my dad was a Valley Fire Chief out here way back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, 20 years ago before he left for good old Florida.
Smart
But
guy.
I actually, because of that, I was less inclined to do it. Let's see, what was it? A little over 10 years ago now, like 2008 or 9. I was in an electronics company and a small one. And my boss at the time was a volley out here. And he had just taken an advanced EMT class. And he was raving about it, telling me stories and all this other stuff. And I was like, maybe I'll do it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, 2008 was a shitty year for anyone in general economically. And the company was not doing as great as it could have been.
Yeah.
So I was kind of looking at other things, and he was like, why don't you give this a shot? I was like, all right. And we looked at the local community college, and there was literally one seat left in their EMT class. He was like, hey, sign up. So he signed up. He's like, I'll pay for it. All right, you're paying for it. I'm definitely going to take it then.
Yeah.
And, here I am 13 years later.
Huh.
When you say 2008, it doesn't seem that long ago.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. But then, some of the people I'm working with now, I say 2008, they're like, oh, I was in 4th grade.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the crazy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we picked up some kid the other day. She was born in like 2001, and she's like 22. I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
It doesn't. When you say it doesn't sound that long ago.
I think the weirdest part though is we're starting to reach that area when we're saying when people are telling us their date of birth. I'm having patients where I have the older patient. I have a lot of older patients in my area, and I have the 1920 something, and then these other ones are 2020 was their birthday, and when I see the ones from 2000, I have to actually stop for a couple seconds and think about it, and then regret my age.
I know.
So you're adult and you have a 2 in front of your birthday. Great.
Yeah.
We're in a different century.
I know. I was thinking about it the other day, like how old I'm getting, and that I'm gonna be 40 this year. I'm like, oh God.
Say it out loud.
Yeah. I don't know.
You can do what I did. You just say you were 30 plus, and then no one has to know.
Yeah.
Then when I go off the deep end, I have a good excuse. So.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. So where'd you work? Where was the first time you worked? Who'd you work for?
For EMS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who was your first? You do volley when you came out?
I did volley. First thing I did, I signed up for. I worked at. Actually, the first place I worked was Hunter EMS out here. That's the green one. So New York's got the red Hunter that typically was the green Hunter out on Long Island. Those are the green ones. So that's a Hunter facility. They would do some, like nursing home emergency runs and stuff like that. It was basically the dialysis transfers and all that. That was, it sucked like every other facility kind of job. But it was good. It's the chart writing was there was a lot of chart writing and learning how to write charts quickly. Getting my feet under myself. So it was a good job. It wasn't a bad place to work. The pay wasn't the greatest, but I think that's basically everywhere now anyway.
Yeah.
But it was a good start. And then after I started there, I also started volleying at Port Jeff Ambulance out here a couple times over. I was there for a few years. But
was Bill Wolf there still?
Yeah, Bill Wolf actually still works there. He's got quite a sweet gig over there. He's I don't even know what rank he is. Even like a rank of captain. They have funny ranks over there the way they do it. But he works quite a few hours a week. I think he works more now than he did when he
really.
Yeah, when he was our boss. But he doesn't have to do a whole lot. Basically, he's a full-time cook there. But he's got it good. He's happy to
I was just thinking about him the other day too. I gotta call him.
It's funny. I talked to someone else about him the other day too. Someone else who worked with him. And he was like, yeah, and he's actually the one who gives me the lowdown on him. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. That's another good story. When he rage quit over here, one of the job we worked together at.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Who rage quit? He rage quit or you did?
He rage quit. It's a fantastic story. Maybe we'll get to that at some point, but it's a good story. You'll love it.
And that'll just make me call him and get him on here so he can tell us how he rage quit.
Oh, actually, you know, it probably would be better because he tells the story. So he's got, you know, he's much better storyteller.
You tell good stories.
Yeah. You're okay.
Yeah. All right. So you started Port Jeff, volleying.
Uh-huh.
How long were you there?
And how long were you at Hunter? When were you doing them side by side kind of deal?
Yeah. So Hunter, I started as a per diem and then I ended up just working full-time hours. I was there for a year before I went into medic school. I left them when I went to medical school. I left them and I just worked a couple other part-time jobs out here per diem, local fire districts and stuff. So I was with them about a year. Port Jeff, I was with four years or so, roughly. I had an unceremonious end from that place also. Yeah, and then medic school, and then June 2012 came out of medic school, and you know, I did what we call the I'll call it nicely, we call it a per diem shuffle out here. But we're basically, as far as I had 6 per diem jobs, you know, filled the schedule every week with a different place. It's getting better out here, honestly. Now that you know, everyone's starting to figure out that they need to do it for real. But you know, 8-9 years ago, you had 12, you know, dozens of places looking for work, but no one wanted to pay anyone more than 12 hours a week.
That's crazy.
Wow. So how does it work on Long Island as far as like with the fire district thing? So because it's a whole little strange fiefdom how Long Island works.
Yeah, so yeah, like with New York City, FDNY is in control of New York City ambulance responses. You know, they got a contract in ambulances and stuff, but FDNY does everything. Out here, there's basically, you have, every town has its own little thing. And when I say town, it's called a hamlet, the way we call them out here. But every town has their own thing. It's either a fire district or an ambulance district. Fire districts are local, just like a school district, local 5-member, 5 commissioners rather. They get they levy taxes, etc. But they're responsible for fire services, and depending on whether they do it, most of them are responsible for EMS services also. They're all volunteer agencies. Every agency out here is volunteer with paid supplement, but that's obviously, but over the last 10 years, the transition has been made where we're starting to do, especially for EMS, definitely EMS, we're starting to do primary paid with volunteer supplement. But we're talking, Suffolk County alone has 120-ish agencies.
Oh my gosh.
And each one has their own rules, their own, you know, staffing requirement, their own response criteria. So depending on which side of the street you fall on, you could get, you could get 3 or 4 highly skilled paid paramedics, or you might get, still relatively well skilled, but you might get the mechanic down the street who's running out of the shop to go help you. Not that I have any issues with them, but you know, it's one thing that we have. One of the issues we have out here is a mixed response. It makes things a little bit difficult at times.
That's interesting. Like so many people and stuff. And then you guys are dispatched individually, right? Or the county dispatches you?
Again, every single place is different. So we have Suffolk County Fire Rescue. So when you make a 911 call in Suffolk County, it either goes to Suffolk PD.
Wait, hold on. You got to back up.
What happened?
Back up. I don't know. Somebody's internet took a shit.
911 in Suffolk County. It goes to either Suffolk County Police or Suffolk County Sheriff, depending on which edge of the county you're on. And much like how the NYPD gets the first call in New York City, it goes through them fast. And if it's a fire or an EMS call, excuse me, it gets, what do you call it? It gets sent over to Suffolk County Fire Rescue Emergency Services, or FRES is what we call them. Then they'll do the EMD or EFD on the call, and depending on the agency, it'll either get sent to the local agency's dispatcher, or Suffolk County FRES will activate the agency from where they are. The 2 agencies I work at now have their own dispatchers, so FRES hands it off to them, then we get activated from there. Some agencies have their own dispatchers, but Fres will activate them, and then their dispatcher takes over. Other times they use two dispatchers simultaneously, so they'll give times to Fres and they'll give times to their own local agency. It's much like the EMS response. The EMS response in general, it's whatever town you, whatever side of the street you're on.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a big kind of a patchwork system. It all seems to work okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of times there's outliers out there that cause issues, but for the most part it works.
It's kind of like here, like where I live, like, you know, if you're on like one side of the street, it's Mattawa, on the other side's Aberdeen and stuff. So it's like drag them across the line.
It's so funny when I hear all these things, because I grew up in New York City. My dad was a firefighter here. So like, I didn't even know that we had volunteer anything. Like, I didn't know volunteer firefighters existed. I didn't know.
My neighbors were the same way.
And it was like when I went upstate where I realized like when I worked upstate, I was like, oh my God, like, who are these people showing up on our jobs with jeans, And I was like, oh, they're volunteering. That's a thing. Like, I had no idea. But I mean, it's funny because I know in Nassau, doesn't like Nassau PD deal with EMS also?
Nassau is very similar. So they have however many local agencies, but then on top of that, a lot of agencies, the Nassau PD has their own ambulance service.
Yeah.
And some places Nassau PD is first due, other places Nassau PD is second or even third due. So like in Nassau, for instance, it's an ambulance technician, is whether it's an EMTCC or an EMT paramedic, they're on the ambulance, one person until they go to the call, and then one of the police officer will respond with them, and then the police officer drives the ambulance back to the hospital for them. Which, whatever, I think it's silly, but so something that's happened out there recently is a lot of the local villages in Nassau County that have their own police department don't want to burn a police officer in the EMS run. So they've been contracting with Northwell to run their EMS services to do primary, so they don't have to waste a police officer on a job like that. And frankly, Northwell's been pushing out here a little bit. We give some jobs to Northwell and other EMS agencies that like the higher volume areas, like the what do you call them? Assisted livings and stuff like that.
Okay. So they're coming out there.
Yeah, it's a slow creep. It's a slow creep. It's happening. And honestly, if they don't take over, something might have to change here. We're having a lot of staffing issues all over Suffolk County. So there's 120 agencies.
I mean, I guess it's I feel like, both Nassau and Suffolk, and now Suffolk more, is like, feels like it's getting, like, the population has grown, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things, like, probably the EMS runs are more than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then if you're not kind of getting the amount of people.
It has. I mean, so for myself personally, the agencies I'm with hasn't seen much of a change. Excuse me, even up into Suffolk, we actually saw a reduction in call volume over the last 2 years. I mean, COVID in 2020, we probably lost a couple hundred runs. I hate to say it like this, but the beginning of COVID, we lost a lot of our regulars. I'm not sure the number, but the call volume went down a lot. And it hasn't really caught up. 2021 hasn't caught up, and to today we're not really up where we should be. But our neighboring agency has had a bunch of our neighboring agencies have had huge increases. We're talking from yearly volumes of like 3,400 to now over 4,000, 4,400.
Really?
Wow.
One in particular, the next door over, Terryville, my hometown, where I was born and raised. They've got additional staffing on. They're running additional ambulances. They've had for them particularly, it was just a huge increase in medical offices. And if you listen to them on a given day, they're at the medical office 24 hours a day, basically.
Wow.
And that's the kind of stuff that, like us in Suffolk, we would turf off to a Northwell or another private ambulance service and see if they could handle it first. But they're running everything. Julie, before you were talking about the shock of going from New York City to upstate and seeing people in jeans. I just it reminded me of one time when my aunt and uncle lived down in Florida. My grandmother was down there, and out here on Long Island, because it's all volunteer agencies and we tax and everything, we do it through taxes, we get the money. We don't bill for EMS services. My grandmother fell, broke her arm, got transported, and she was like, I have this bill from the ambulance. And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean there's a bill? This is ridiculous. Just billing on the ambulance.
Yeah. I feel like, that's.
Didn't you have a Florida story, Jewel, where they walked your dad when he was having like a
Oh, that was
massive
just
MI or some shit?
I know, I hate that kind of stuff. That was like, years ago, my dad had like a stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had like a few, but during this time, he came back home from the hospital, and I was down there for like a month, sort of hanging with him and my mom, and like just kind of, dealing with that. And about a week or so after he got discharged from the hospital, I had taken my son to the playground, and when we came home, my dad was like sitting on the couch, like holding his chest, looked like shit. And I was like, oh my God, like, I think you're having a heart attack, and he was like, no, I'm all right. I'm like, Dad, like, you're not all right. Like, you look green, you're sweaty, like, I'm going to call an ambulance. So I called an ambulance, and they show up, and it was like several people. I think there was like 4 of them. And they're firefighters down there, like they're firefighters and EMS, like they're paramedics and firefighters. Right. And everything's on the first floor. You know what I mean? My dad's home is like a villa. It's on the first floor. You can literally bring a stretcher right inside of it. And they brought the stretcher to the front door, but then they had my dad like walk to the stretcher, which is like, listen, my dad is not 500 pounds. You know what I mean? He's maybe 180 pounds. Like, he's a normal sized person and obviously having a heart attack. And I could see that they wanted to walk him. And I was like, hey, I'm a paramedic. And they were like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah. And they were like, where do you work? I was like, I work in the city of New York. I said where I work. I'm not going to say it here, but they were like, that's cool. That's cool. So you good, sir? You're good to walk? I'm like, I don't, not sure about that. And I didn't want to be like stepping on toes, because it's like, there's like a few of them here, but they walked my dad basically. Yeah, they walked him to the door, and then, they took care of him. But my dad ended up having like a widowmaker, and he went into arrest, like in the hospital. So I'm like, you shouldn't have walked him, you dicks. You know what I mean? And I could have complained, but I didn't want to, like, I'm EMS. I'm not trying to like, screw you guys over. But yeah, it was pretty.
Maybe that person. Huh?
Yep. Yeah.
And those guys are paid. Like, that's not volunteer. That's their job. Like, that's their career. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, Florida.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not that, never had that happen or anything. So
we'd have to, discuss this off air.
I was just watching, because Amanda, she just did this, her refresher, because she could do her refresher online. And they were saying that it's okay to walk like a stroke patient and stuff, to see like what their gait is and stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like, 6 feet between you and the stretcher. Here, walk to the stretcher.
Yeah, it's not like, down the hall and around the corner.
I'm not gonna walk you all the way out to the street.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like even if you're standing the person up to sit them on a chair, you can sort of tell if someone's like wobbly. Right. Yeah. You're like, all right, sit down. And then you're like, unsteady gait. That's it. Yeah. We figured that out, like it's, yeah.
I helped teach this. I was doing like this EMT refresher down here, and I was saying something about, walking people, and they all looked at me like I had 3 heads. To like, we don't walk in. This guy wanted to go hard on me. He's like, we don't walk in. He's like, I don't care how big they are. We're going to carry them. And if I have to take walls out, I will. I'm like, and you're going to destroy people's lives. Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like I get why theoretically you're going to emergency calls, right? That's the theory behind that. But like in New York City, like how many times a day do we go for some nonsense? Like someone it comes in as a diff breather, and basically you get there and they're like, oh, I had an asthma attack today, but I didn't have my nebulizer. I forgot to get it refilled. I'm okay now. And now they want to go to the hospital. And it's like, you're going to walk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you walked to work today pretty fine. You walked home.
Yeah, we don't need for that.
Yeah.
Not at all. So, so when you finished medic class, where'd you do your ride time?
During medic class?
Yeah.
All out in the city. I went to Stony Brook University for their paramedic class.
Okay.
And all of our ambulance rotations were in with the private hospitals in New
Okay.
York City and also up in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh my
How'd
God.
Who'd you like better?
Honestly, the only reason to say it is because I had quite a white cloud on my ambulance rotation. So the only time I ever got anything was when I was in the quietest of trucks down in Lutheran. And they all, because we got like, I got 3 strokes in one day. One guy fell out on the street and cracked his skull wide open.
Wow.
They were odd days. But the rotations in Lutheran were probably some of the better ones. And
Okay.
at Jamaica Hospital too. I had some good rotations. The other ones were just too quiet to really say anything about,
Yeah.
How's Connecticut? Is it different up there?
It was nice. It was nice. And yeah, it was, I mean, it was Greenwich's a higher income area. So
Okay.
different,
Affluent neighborhood.
different to say the least.
Yeah.
But the setup there seemed a little different also. So they had their own fire department, their own EMS agency. The EMS agency was like a private company, but it was for the town, all that. They kind of did a similar thing where the local police department took the calls, screened the calls, EMD
Yeah.
took the calls, and dispatched the ambulance service. And then when the ambulance service would go, they'd also notify a larger, I forgot what they called it, but it was there's like a larger, I don't know, Connecticut, they have like these EMS regions where and they all just kind of keep track of where all the ambulance resources are.
Okay.
So like, even though Greenwich was dispatched to their own local police department, they still let that larger agency know that they were going for something, so they knew what was going on. But it was good times. Actually, I think some of the better, hard to say, but some of the more attentive preceptors were up there. Probably more to the fact that they had a station they could sit at. There were 4 stations there. You could sit at a station, relax, talk, have a chat.
Yeah.
Do some of the other stuff that I'm more accustomed to out here on Long Island than just racing from job to job in the city.
Yeah. That's interesting. So that you would have like, more attentive people out there and stuff. So I try to, I don't know, you get medic students where you are now?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
What do you do with your medic students when you get them?
Depending on the day. I mean, hopefully, honestly, for them, I hope that they have a lot of jobs because
Okay.
when I was in, my only requirement was to do a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But now they have to make patient contact. So they have to, they need jobs, whereas I just need to sit there and endure for a couple hundred hours. They had to do a couple hundred hours and get patient contacts. Otherwise they had to do more time. But I usually start off, open up with, let's go check the truck. Let's go through the bags. Just, I'm not sitting there asking you every single drug in there, what everything was. But I want you to know, I want them to be part of the crew. If I ask for something, they need to know where it is and vice versa. They don't always necessarily need to know what they have, what to do, but they need to know where everything is, know the equipment and everything else we can work on. That's why they're there.
Yeah. I always feel bad for people like when they get medic students and stuff, and then you have like, lazy preceptors, and you just sit on the side of the street, like, like, what are you learning? And then you complain, about people don't know what to do and stuff, but you sat and chilled all day.
Yeah, so. I know. And it's terrible because sometimes there's days I just feel bad. Like I want to do more, but
you just didn't have
we
that.
can only check the bag so much. We can only go over
Yeah.
things so much in an 8-hour tour.
Yep.
You need runs.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we're lucky that, I mean, I don't know how you folks get dispatched out there. Can you hear what other people are getting, or are you get dispatched to your job? That's it.
If I just hold on my radios only, I only hear my stuff. We have, in there, Suffolk County Fres sends everything in there. So you can see all the every fire job, every weird job that goes through Suffolk County Fres, you can see on there. So,
but you can't, I mean, it's like,
this.
Yeah.
But you can't really buff things, right? Like if you are,
no.
You can't just like
go very discouraged.
So what would happen if you stole somebody's,
it would be hell.
Good MBA.
Honestly. Yeah, honestly, really? It's not worth hearing it, Like,
Mm.
yeah, like I know you guys love to do it, and Pete and I love to do it too when we were together. It was just, I'll take anyone's job, take any good
Yeah.
job, I'll take it. I don't care. Like I'll drive halfway across New York City to get to a good job. Doesn't
Yep.
matter.
Yeah.
You listen to it, but nothing comes of it. Like what big deal? Write me up. Who
Oh,
cares?
man.
Yeah.
But over here, it's, each district has, 5 people in charge, and, this one chief gets upset and complains to his board, and then now my chiefs are upset, and now I'm gonna hear it, and then they're gonna, it's just not worth, it's not worth listening to.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And plus, and most of the time, because you're not listening to anyone else, you have no idea until it's too late anyway.
Yeah.
That's
I guess that's challenging when you have students, I think. I mean, I think that's not just there, that's in a lot of places, like that. In the city, I feel like it's much different. You can, if you have a medic student, you're having like a particularly slow night and you hear like kind of an interesting job coming, you could potentially like make your way over there and get flagged for it. But if you have a student and you did like nothing that night, you're like, sorry, man. And it just kind of stinks. Like, it's like, that's what it is like.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then there's other times like we have, so in Suffolk, I'm primarily on the ambulance. In Suffolk, we have paramedic, first responder, and then medic and an EMT on the ambulance. We got 3 guys on it all the time, 3 guys or gals. And I'm typically on the ambulance. So if I have a student, they're doing the job with us all the way through the hospital. But my other agency, CenterReach, I'm on the fly car all the time. And it's a mixed response. We either have all volunteers, paid EMT, 2 EMTs. It's depending on the hour of the day and the day of the week. It can be any kind of response. So there are times when, a job that doesn't need to go ALS, now we're gonna make it go ALS.
Yeah.
So my boy has a contact because he hasn't had contact in the last 2 weeks. Which I want to go back and watch a damn movie, but my students make me do work, right?
I know.
But I don't mind doing that, especially for the better students too, because there's some you want to get through and some you don't want to get through.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing, that's the tough part. You know what I mean? Like when you have those people and it's like, you're just not getting this.
Yeah.
And you should be getting this. And that's the tough part. So
I think I have much more patience for that. Peter gets so like grumpus, like a grumpy old crank, but
it's because it interrupts Peter's flow. He wants to just get things done.
I know, even with me sometimes. Like the other day we had a job that got a little...
Yo, Julian, we used to time ourselves when we have like asthma jobs. We could have you would have everything done within what, I think our record was like 5 or 8 minutes.
Well, that's the thing. We had a bad asthma job the other day, and I thought we were like working steadily. Like it was aggressive. We did everything. We literally gave everything that you could give, including
and we call for orders.
Everything. And we call for orders to like get diazepam to chill her out a bit. Like we did everything. But like I'm just gonna like stick her in the arm with like, maybe this is me, a 20 gauge for epi. Like I'm drawing it up, and he's like, "What are you doing with that?" I'm like, "What, for the epi?" He's like, "Oh, give me that." Like, and he like puts in a vantage point to get like, the whatever 21 and a half, like, or whatever the hell the next, like level
She was
is.
a nice lady. She was a nice lady.
Yeah, but I'm like, she doesn't care. Like,
yes, she did.
She needs the epi,
feel better.
whether she gets stabbed with a 20 gauge IM or a 21 and a half or something, or 22, doesn't matter. Like, she just needs it. But in his mind, he's like, "You're gonna harpoon her?" I'm like, I was just like, so then when we got in the hospital, I was like all flustered and hot and sweaty, and he's like all excited. He's like, "Oh, that was a great job. Are you mad at me?" And I was like, I'm like,
no.
I was like, I'm annoyed. But so those, and I think we were fast, but yeah, Peter gets very you've worked with him, and I feel like for students I have much more patience with like them not getting something, because I had a hard time like getting shit. It took me so long to even start an IV when I like went to medic school. And I remember thinking like, I'm never gonna get this, and I think one of the instructors was like, "Do you drive a car?" And I was like, "Yes." And they were like, "You have to learn how to drive a car, right? You didn't always know how to do that." And I was like, good point. And like, that's something I always say now, if I'm like trying to learn something, I'm like, all right, I learned how to drive a car. I've learned how to start an IV. Like all these things I didn't know as a child, that as an adult I had to learn. Like I get it now, but yeah, for him, he's just like, like he gets like irritated that they're not like getting it, or that they're, still didn't get it. And I'm like,
it probably depends on the day with him too.
Yeah. He's a Gemini, so
Yeah. You'd hate me now. I've probably done 2 asthma jobs in the last 3 years, so
Really?
we don't get that out here.
Thank goodness, I guess. But, yeah.
What's your big call you get out there besides the old ladies falling?
That's it, man.
That's it.
That's our
Yeah.
job, man. Except the last couple of weeks, it's been the 40-something-year-old male unvaccinated needs to go get antibodies, so he wants an ambulance ride because that's the quickest way to go.
No,
And I'm not taking you to your hospital. You're going to the local one, which doesn't have the antibodies. Sorry.
that's wild.
Yeah, we've been doing well. We're back on, closest facility and stuff.
Yeah.
So ruining people's, killing their
Yeah.
hopes, dreams, and ambitions of a bed. So
Yeah.
we saw the medical director the other day, and he's like, "Man, I wish people would stop calling me to go to this certain hospital." He's like, "It's not gonna happen."
Yeah,
He's
that's
like,
it.
"Tell your
People-
coworkers."
Unless, I mean, listen, if you're taking a patient who's like a cancer patient and they go to Sloan Kettering,
Yep.
and they live next door to Wyckoff Hospital, you can call and get, whatever. Like, obviously, that's a different reason.
Yeah.
But like, if it's just the fact that someone doesn't like going there, like, who cares? I mean, this is a different time.
Yeah.
Like, they have to go. I know it sucks. You can also, your family, you have 5 people in the apartment. One of these people could potentially take you to that other hospital, like, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're critical. And if you're critical, like, what does it matter? You need to go somewhere anyway. Like, you have to go, I don't know, people, I get that because I grew up in the city of New York and like, there's so many hospitals, so you have a lot of choices. And for my family, like the choices were never the hospitals in the city. Like my dad and mom always like Long Island Jewish, which from where I lived was not right down the block. And like my mom was literally having a heart attack and was like, "I'm not going to Jamaica." And they were like, "Ma'am, we have to take you to Jamaica." And she was like, "Well, then I'm not going." And like they were like, "Oh my God." So they like called telemetry and got like the okay for Long Island Jewish. Same thing with my dad. He was like, I'm not going to Long Island, I'm not going to Jamaica Hospital. He had a stroke. And we were like, "Dad, you have to." And he's like, "I'm not going." And like, so we took him to Long Island Jewish, and then they literally transferred him back to Jamaica in the morning because they had a traumatic brain injury unit at Jamaica and not at Long Island Jewish back then.
They couldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing we deal with around here, like a lot, especially our older people. They've been going to there's Mather Hospital, which is in Port Jefferson, which is a decent hospital, but Stony Brook is the larger and more encompassing hospital and much closer to all of us. But they've been going to Mather since before Stony Brook even existed.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things like when 90% of the time I don't care, I'll take them to Mather. It's not an issue. It's like you're having a stroke, you need to go to Stony Brook right now. We're going to go to Mather, they're going to look at you, and they're going to send you right over to Stony Brook.
Crazy.
Please cut out an hour and a half of time. And that was funny enough, just talking about Mather, Stony Brook, all that. That's actually one of the reasons why, going back to Billy Wolf, he rage quit. But that if we get to that story, that's why he rage quit.
Oh my God.
Do you have to call the hospital out there and like tell them you're coming and stuff?
So we have hospital radios where we call. There's usually a triage nurse with the radio that walks around.
Okay. Yo, somebody was telling me that they were calling and like the triage nurse would tell them that they're like on divert or whatever. Have you ever had that?
A triage nurse say they're on diversion?
Yeah, and like refuse the patient.
Really?
I haven't, no, because up here these hospitals don't go on diversion.
Could you imagine that?
Stony Brook will, unless it's catastrophic. Stony Brook, for instance, will not go on diversion. They've got enough equipment where they could probably handle,
Yeah, they're a huge hospital and
very large hospital. They will not go on diversion. They did what there was one local hospital, Mather, actually, the one we were talking about. They were on diversion for a few hours last week. But that's one of those things where they call Suffolk County Fire Rescue and request it. And then they give it, but then that doesn't actually, it still has to filter down to our dispatchers,
Oh,
and then even then again, like it's still only a request. We can still show up. The only time it's really bad is if they're like, "Hey, we don't have CAT scan, don't take a stroke patient here," which
yeah.
a stroke patient, which has happened in the past, but it's very rare.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just wild to me. Like the dispatch, like the nurses refuses the patient. Like, you can't bring them here. You have to go around us and stuff. Like, I couldn't imagine that.
I mean, like if they're overflowing out the doors and they really can't handle it, and if that's how. And like I said, if we're not getting the message, at some point they're going to start telling people on the radio that they can't
come here. Yeah.
If I heard the nurses around here, like if I heard them saying that, I'd probably take it seriously because it's not something I ever hear.
Yeah.
but there's some places like down a little further the south shore of the island, like they don't have a choice. There's no other hospital to go to.
Yeah, I know.
25, 30 minutes.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I can get to 4 hospitals within 15 minutes, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, wow.
And they're all good hospitals. I have no complaints with any of them.
Yeah.
And you
That's
get
right.
helicopters too, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Brook has a helipad, I think.
Yeah, you got helicopter EMS out here too, yeah.
That is pretty cool.
So, and you get MVAs, unlike us.
We do. Not quite. My areas don't really get them quite the same, but we get MVAs, yeah.
You had a good MVA a few weeks. Was it last year? You had a good MVA.
Like over the summertime?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a good one. Was it the one with the children involved or another one?
No, what was that?
No, that was that one. I was more in the cleanup, getting everything put away. I came in the tour change, and it happened just before tour change. But there were like 6 or 8 kids in the car. One of them passed.
Wow.
One of them had a TBI. I think she's doing really well now, though. But it was actually a triage nurse up at the hospital. It was her family, so it was
Wow.
it was a big deal for a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've had a few over the past few months, but nothing standing out. I got the number,
I do. I remember all this stuff. So yeah, we've been doing good with MVAs. We had a good MVA the other night. So
Did you?
Oh yeah.
It's getting wild there now again. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah. I feel like I don't remember half the jobs we go on. What was
yeah, but then you
MVA?
remember like this weird shit. And I'm like, how do you remember this and stuff? So yo, you would never recognize the area now. Remember how like we used to have to work to get shots?
Yeah.
We really don't have to work that hard anymore.
Drive around the corner, you get one.
Yeah.
It's, I think we went 2 weeks where we didn't get any. And it was like, where is it? We were looking hard. We were working hard for it. And then we had like 3
It's
in a
still
row.
happening, just a little too far to buff,
Yeah.
Yeah. Even for you?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
little further than could be like explained easily
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah. Yeah. Even though we probably could have beat him down there, but it was just like,
Yeah, you didn't just happen upon Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Like
So-
or like down in Brownsville. Like we were just
Yeah.
driving around,
I can't even do that because like I don't even know that area. That's like a whole nother world over there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I think
And
you know
stuff.
it better now because we
don't.
get dispatched down there pretty frequently,
Mm-mm. No idea. No
We
idea.
went to a job recently, like when we had this sort of big boom of calls a couple weeks back when COVID kind of hit really hard here. Like we got sent from Brooklyn to Howard Beach in Queens. And it was like
we were on Cypress and Myrtle
and
to
it
Howard
was a
Beach.
job, like all the way in the middle of Howard Beach.
You're on the wrong side of the street.
I know, that was like super
We're
shocking.
like, you're sending us where? Yeah, and it was all solo too.
Yeah,
So.
there's no BLS. But thankfully we had like great firefighters that day. They were like really,
Dazzled,
really
bro. Absolutely dazzled by the firemen.
Yeah.
And stuff. We got there, they were ventilating the lady. They had her collared. They had vitals.
Yeah,
They suctioned.
they drove
Mhm.
us.
They drove us too
Wow.
without a
Yeah.
problem. They're
They
like,
must have been
you need a
bored.
ride?
They were bored.
I know. They probably don't do a whole lot there.
Mm.
I know back in the day, my dad told me that Firehouse, like he went there for a few weeks or something. And they can fish off the back of the Firehouse. I mean, I'm sure it's like different now. Queens is different than it, was, but yeah, I think for them, it was like, oh, this is like a cool job. And like 2 of the guys, I think were BLS from back in the day here. So,
Yeah.
but that was really nice.
It was epic, bro. It was amazing. So
Yeah.
he was like, hey, you want me to do a 12 lead for you too? We're like doing everything else. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
to have that.
I miss
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I miss
That's
that.
actually, yeah, we have we have a paid fire engine on now, breaking ground here
Okay.
in county, but
Mm,
when we have them during the day, it's a godsend whenever we actually need them.
Yeah.
yeah.
We had a dude stroke out the other day, and he was back in his bedroom, and there was just garbage lining all in the way. And we did our thing, getting the guy ready to go, and we turn around, and there's a beautiful wide open path to get out the door. It was just
Oh,
it was so nice. you know, just 5 years ago, if we made if, you know, we called for extra help, it would still be another 20 minutes before someone showed up. So it's just
Wow.
glorious. It was absolutely
That's
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah.
Kind of thing I'm looking forward to. And they're really good dudes too.
That is
Guys,
nice.
give me a second. My dog is begging to go
Oh.
outside.
Okay,
All
sure.
right.
So we're like, we're gonna
Sorry, that was
record
me.
my
Oh, this
shame.
one? Oh yeah, no,
it's
this
the
one
wrong button.
is.
So this one is we had like a third story walk up or whatever. We get up there.
No,
And
it
what
was only the
happened?
first floor. It was the
Was
first
it
floor.
but the patient RMA'd, right? Was it
Yeah.
a 90 or an RMA? It was like something. So we're like
Yeah, it was an
heading
RMA.
back down, and I have the stair chair in my arm.
I'm walking in front of me. I'm like, la la la.
He's down before, and I have no idea what happened, if there's something on the lip of the stairs, but like the kind of heel of my
Wasn't her
boot just
feet.
sort of tucked in and
Mhm.
like wouldn't budge. But I already had like that kind of motion of like going down the stairs. So like my body weight was forward, and I like realized I'm like going down the stairs, and I'm like, ugh, and I'm like trying, I could see it happening. So I like tried to throw my weight back with the chair, but like I ended up slamming the chair into the fucking wall, and he turns around thinking like the fucking building is coming down. And I was like, ugh, and I just like boom, 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 like down like 3 stairs. But yeah, Peter, I don't know, he was like, oh, I thought the building was like collapsing. And I'm like, that was kind of a dick thing to say, Peter. But I guess it was super loud because it's in this.
Yo, I thought the
old
building was falling down, bro. I thought somebody threw something at us.
Or stumbling and smashing everything around. probably.
Yeah, like
Bro.
smashing the chair into this marble
It was
wall.
so loud.
But I never, that never happened before. I was like, I had like a sheen of like sweat after my fucking adrenaline went up, and I was like, like I thought like, this is it. This is how I die. I'm gonna break my neck and
Yep.
kill Peter on the way down.
Mhm.
Visualize your career ending, your life.
Exactly. I have no idea how that happened. It was just like one boot just like got locked in, and then that was it. Like it wouldn't, I don't know what it was. Yeah.
Rob had a
Yeah.
few. I messed up my back with Rob too. So the first time I
Really?
did my
It's
back.
actually an asthma job too, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
did.
I was thinking about
Yeah.
that as we were talking about it. I was like, remember that big giant, that dude
Yeah.
was solid.
He was huge.
He was solid.
He was a huge guy. And it was like only one flight of stairs, but he was big. And we're
Yeah.
going down the stairs and it popped.
And
And
you know, we had plenty of people there to help us, and I think bigger dudes than you too, so you probably shouldn't have been doing it in the first place.
no,
Wow.
but but I kept going. I finished this flight of stairs.
Oh, you grimaced like the first flight now, and then you finished the first couple
Yeah.
steps.
And I think, no, when we hit the landing, I traded it off. So
Yeah.
we're like mid-flight and it popped. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was before CPAP too. So we had to bag them. We got in the ambulance and we had to bag them. So,
all muscle.
mhm, Yep.
Damn.
yeah, my back is,
Hold on, I want to share something with you guys because.
oh my God. See, this guy's tech over here. This
Fire
guy.
district there are here online.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Him and all his cameras and stuff. He's got like,
enable screen sharing if you can, Pete.
Oh yeah.
let me figure out how to do this more.
Otherwise, I'll just pull it up my phone and show it to you that way. But
Hmm.
Okay. You should have it. So when you came straight to 5-7, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
when I came out of the academy, they assigned me to Division 3, and I called Billy Wolf, and he had me pulled over. I was supposed to go to
That's nice.
31 first.
Okay.
Billy called Hanafi at the time, and he was like, "I want this guy."
Huh. Who was your partner when you first came out?
It was you and Rebecca.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow, we were still in
Yeah,
8s.
I remember you. I remember you being very nervous, mentioning like how nervous you were, like fucking getting this new fucking medic, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
How relieved you were when you didn't have to teach me how to be a medic.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
I
frozen.
didn't hear
Drew.
that. Sorry. Like, yeah.
You able to see this?
Yep.
Yes.
You see this map?
Yep.
All right. There's some little areas are just broken up funny because of the different response policies that we have.
Huh.
Hmm.
Basically, each enclosed section is a fire district. All the way up to the end there.
And it extends into the water.
Yeah, they just updated this map, so now there's a lot of stuff on here that just looks really weird. Like the stuff out in the water, I think is just technicalities.
Okay.
But you see what I just pulled up? Yeah, so I don't know. Like this actually gives kind of like how everyone's dispatched too, which is brand new stuff, which is kind of fun. But
Interesting.
yeah, so it's 100 some odd districts, and they're broken up like this, and it's literally different sides of the street, they're different districts.
Wow.
And I'll show this, for instance, this whole section. I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
This whole section in here is Suffolk Fire Department.
Okay.
Stony Brook University is in here, and this is all broken up because just the way we respond on campus is different because they have their own police department, their own separate university EMS agency, and then the university hospital has their own EMS staff also. So everything there is dispatched funky. And then Center Reach, the next town down. See, I live over here in Lake Grove.
Okay.
Center Reach is broken up into 4 quarters. Oh, I know.
Okay.
But these 4 quarters are, excuse me, all Center Reach Fire Department.
And who's the big town that they're all encompassed by?
All encompassed by Brookhaven Township.
Okay.
Over here.
This looks even crazier than New Jersey because like I thought we had a lot of districts over here and
I
stuff.
didn't realize like some of these places were where they were. I had friends who lived in Miller Place, like
I don't know
I'm
if
like
the green lines, you know,
Green Line. Oh yeah, okay.
the fire districts. So yeah, they changed it a lot in the last 2 weeks even. It's not,
That's a long ride, bro.
Brookhaven,
How long was your ride into the city?
when I started, when we were 1 to 9, it was like an hour and 10 minutes. It was amazing. But right before I left, it was pushing 2 hours.
Wow.
When I was on Young with Sean, it
Yeah.
was a 2-hour ride each way. It was a miserable existence.
Yeah, because
yeah,
7 o'clock is horrible getting out of there.
Yeah, getting out at 7, getting in at 5, leaving here at 5 o'clock is miserable because that's when everyone's coming home. But like there was no, everyone's like, oh, it's against the traffic. There was no against the traffic. Everyone's
Yeah.
going right now. So it was pushing 2 hours before I left.
Wow.
And I've looked since. The only time it was ever nice was during COVID, like the very height of COVID.
Yeah.
That's the only time traffic was ever
Yeah.
nice.
Yep. Because we were on the Belt Parkway and you could we should have did it because we'll never be able to do it again, but you could have stopped in the middle of the Belt Parkway and done cartwheels.
Yeah.
And there was not a soul on the road. It was
Yeah, that's what everyone was telling me. If you like my supervisor up at Suffolk, he just retired. He was on 3-9 rescue. And he was praising how nice the traffic was.
it was amazing.
Only
Yeah,
bump
bro.
work.
Yeah. Like we were in Midtown, we were in Times Square and there was nobody. It was, we'll never see that again in our career. It was
Yeah,
just,
Probably not, yeah.
it was amazing. So, yep. So would you guys had a few interesting jobs on 2 Young. I'm remembering a young man who fell off of a water tower, right?
Water
That
tower?
guy? Yeah, they were taking pictures.
Was it the water tower? I don't think I was on the water tower one.
Was that Sean? That might have just been Sean.
Might have been Sean and probably like, it was Pat or something,
Yeah. Okay.
It's probably Sean and Pat. Actually, I think it was Sean and Pat. I remember Sean telling me about that. But we did have, I think it was me and Sean. It might have been me and you. I can't remember anymore. There was a party up on, it was an apartment building on Metropolitan Avenue. And they were having a party and someone was leaning back against the screen window and they just fell right out like 4 stories, cracked their head.
Jesus.
Might have been me and Sean.
Yeah. That was the thing, like back in, that wasn't too long ago, people would lock themselves out and they'd climb like, trees and gutter pipes.
Yeah.
And then they'd fall off and stuff.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because that brought to mind another one. I think we thought it was a guy who was trying to steal cable, but it was like 3rd story and he fell from his apartment. And I remember that he hit his head hard and he needed a tube. So who's the lieutenant? Came from our station. I can't remember who the lieutenant was, but he's on the phone with telemetry to get orders for accommodate. And as he's on the phone, I just tube the guy. And he's like, I don't never mind. Can you get Valium instead?
That was like 2 Young's like a hidden spot, like when you get it, you get it. But it's a nice little sleeper cell up there.
The only terrible part of being on a truck is how often we went to East New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 Young goes
So-
down there a lot.
Yep. They moved us for a while and we were going down that way, and then they moved us over now. So
Where
we
were
don't
you?
go as much. What's that?
Where were you? I know you guys had to sit at the station for a while, right?
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
there.
we're at the
And
station,
then
we're on Bogart
they move
Street, or
us.
whatever.
Yeah.
We
Shit.
were,
They moved us from like Bushwick and Flushing, and then we went to Bogart, and now we're on
Your street anyway.
I know. Now we're on Humboldt and Moore. So, you know,
yeah, technically.
we're not going that far anymore. So
Yeah.
on a regular basis, but now we're everywhere. So it's fun though.
Everyone goes everywhere now.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine works for Northwell, and he's in a 5-0 unit, I think, out of Flushing. He's like, yeah, I went to, I don't know, somewhere down by Methodist the other day.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Everybody's going everywhere, man. It's
Yeah.
it's wild and stuff, how far people are going. So yeah.
We got to
And-
Coney Island like not that long ago. We did like a cardiac arrest in Coney Island. And then we had a crew that I saw at Brooklyn Hospital, and they were from Station 43. And I was like, how'd you get up here? You know, they were like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I
the
think that
fun
was one of
part.
the sillier things. The only one of the sillier things I remember about the FDNY dispatching was, they get a job 2 seconds before you do, and they're coming up to our area. You go available, get a job down in their area.
I know.
Yeah.
Crossing 2 different dispatchers, so they have no idea. They could just switch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I was talking to a captain the other day about it.
Who is your captain now?
Mescal.
This guy?
Yeah, she's cool. She was saying that, people just don't pick up jobs for other people, but it's like, nobody, I don't think a lot of people understand their areas,
Well, I mean, how many people have more than 6 months on the job?
I know.
Mm.
That's it.
And the
there's
GPS,
also-
it comes back to the GPS. So,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
if you don't look at a map ever, you have like no idea sort of where you are in relation to where everything else is.
Right.
If you're just looking at GPS, that doesn't actually give you the lay of the land, it just gives you directions to and from, but you really don't know how you got there. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't know if you're going south, east, like you're just kind of going, and
Yeah, it's one thing. I mean, Pete's all about it. I don't know how much he actually has to worry about it though, because working with me, he didn't have to worry about it. That's GPS for me was just find the address, find the cross streets, and then I figure my own route. And then I gotta do it myself because GPS. I'll use GPS to get somewhere ridiculous, like when I'm going down to Stark City. I don't know how the hell I'm gonna get there.
yeah, I don't know how to get over there.
But if I'm going down Bed-Stuy Avenue, I need to know what I know. Yeah, I need to know every cross street, and more importantly, which direction each street is going, so I know where to pull out. But that's something that I did prior to coming to the FDNY. That's something I would just, I don't know. I obsess over maps to begin with.
Yeah.
So that was just me. I remember one time he was like, I can't stand these people. You tell them to get an address and they have to look it up, and then they have to sit there with their phone while they're driving to get everywhere they gotta go. And even now I work with some people. It's like we don't have, some of the addresses are in complicated areas, but the hospitals are in the same place all the time. They're not moving. You should know how to get to the hospital without looking at the GPS. Especially if you're working at this agency 40 hours a week, you should know where the hospital is.
Yep.
yeah.
But even now it's something we got to deal with. But
I always wonder about that. Like I feel like my sense of direction's gotten better through the years. Like obviously I knew how to get around Queens, but like when I first got to Brooklyn, I found it a little bit confusing. I mean, I understood like Bushwick, how the street ran, like Bushwick Avenue, but like all those like where it crosses, like Myrtle and everything else, I was always confused. And then strangely, I like got treated for undiagnosed ADHD, and all of those streets suddenly made sense. So I was like, I wonder if my sense of direction was poor just because of that. I don't know. Yeah, like maybe it was disorganized, but it's now it's like I get it. Like now everything is a little bit.
Everything makes sense.
Especially your area when you're looking at it, half Bed-Stuy is perfectly east, west, north, south, and then you hit Bushwick, and then suddenly it's diagonal. But Myrtle comes across at a different angle, so you got to count that in.
Yeah.
And then once you get too far west, it's just the random old streets where they start doing this all the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was telling her that the other night. I was like, once you figure out which way is north, because it's where you think is north really isn't north.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
once you figure out the angle of everything.
Right.
So, Joe, I ever tell you, so Rob lost his keys once, right? In his car. And
I didn't lose my keys. I did lose my keys.
he lost his keys in his car.
Yeah.
And he had this brand new car because he used to have this red piece of shit that he used to drive to work. And then he was so happy he got this brand new black Altima, nice and shiny, right? And he lost his keys in it. And then, you know, his girlfriend found his car at work and she decided to start living in it.
Oh, it was just some homeless lady.
It was some homeless lady. She came out of, I think she just came out of Woodhull, wandered down and found an open car door and just took a nap. I didn't a frantic call. I think I was mandated that morning. I stayed late for overtime that morning. It was like 8:30 in the morning. I got a call from Bradford and he's like, "Yo, where are the keys to your car?" He's like, "I just walk outside and I see some lady in your car."
Oh my God.
To get the smell out of there was horrendous.
Oh
I spent like an hour and a half wiping down everything. It was so gross. I just told that story to someone the other day too. It's funny you brought it up.
That is one of the best. Yeah. Yeah. There's some good Rob stories. Definitely.
Take care of my girl, you know?
You know, I mean, listen, you know.
She was waiting for you after work.
Yeah, you told her to wait in your car and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So what do you, so now, and then you had, I want to use that video where you had a fight with some ice and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. I guess
yeah.
you could use the first half of the video. I guess that's not terrible.
All right. So anyway, let's tell everybody the story. So I'll set the stage. So we were in a polar blitz like we currently are now.
Yeah.
It's about the same time of year, right?
Yeah, roughly the same time of year, same temperature, you know,
Yep.
ice cold.
Mhm.
All right, so I'll preface this. The video he's talking about takes place at a brand new firehouse that we have at Suffolk, and the first 10 feet from the bay doors out, the first 10 feet are actually heated. So there's hot water running underneath or whatever.
That's some fancy shit.
That's, you know,
That's fancy.
it's the bougie end of town up there.
And listen, I'm not mad. I'm just jealous.
No, I mean it's nice, less plowing, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so anyway, there was an engine crew there doing, you know, testing their crap. They pulled the stuff on the ramp. They were under the impression that the entire ramp was heated from the bay doors to the street, which is incorrect. So they were using. They opened up. What did they open up? I don't know. They opened up one of the. What do you call it, Pete? I'm not
A discharge.
Yeah, they opened one of the discharges and they dumped water all over the ramp for a good minute or 2 minutes. They thought nothing of it, right? Put it inside, went away. 2-3 hours later, my partner and I come along and we're going to check some of the ambulances that are there. And I take a step, I'm in the passenger seat. I take a step out of the passenger seat and my foot goes on the ground and then up in the air. And I just did like this on the ice. My feet went up, my back went down. And I laid on the ground for a good minute, just laughing hysterically because I didn't hit anything, nothing hurt. It didn't hurt an ounce, but it was hysterical. So I'm sitting there laughing at it. Partner comes around, like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay?" And everything was fine. So afterwards, we went back to our dispatch and they pulled up the camera feeds and we looked at it, and that's what I sent to Pete. So,
Yeah. That's probably one of my most favorite videos.
good video.
Yeah.
It's on camera, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
Aw.
Always fun times. I definitely miss Rob. We had a lot of fun together.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had a lot of fun together.
Aw.
Yeah, one of the guys I worked with the other day was like, "Oh man, I feel like I know Pete better than I know some of the other people who work around here. How much you know about it?" I was like, "Well, it's a good time. Yeah, good time."
Mhm.
Yeah. Pete, you gotta move us to talk it.
Nah, it's too far.
It wasn't 6 hours away.
I know it's, like I want to go out there, but it's a whole day.
It is
You
an
know?
entire. Yeah, my aunt. Well, my aunt lives right around the corner from me, and when she
Yeah.
comes out here, she comes out first thing in the morning, and she doesn't leave till dinner time.
Yep.
But she bases it all around fucking Belt Parkway.
Yeah. Yep.
Belt Parkway.
That's the craziest thing. I don't know. Robert Moses messed up. He should have made, he should have blighted more areas and made this shit wider.
I know, man. Just take all this stuff, cut through neighborhoods. It's the way to go.
Mhm. Yep. No.
Oh my
Can't do that
God.
shit now,
Oh,
Yes.
no way.
So he had a good idea, just went about it a little wrong.
Yeah, when you don't care about people, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
certain.
He was a visionary. He was definitely a visionary.
Yeah, one thing I
So-
always wanted is a nice highway from the express, the LIE straight to the Verrazano. Nice and cut right through everything there.
Mm-hmm. They were supposed to. The inner borough or the Jackie was
That
supposed
was
to
supposed
go
to-
all the way through.
Yeah,
And stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
ages. I mean, years and years and years ago. That's
Mhm.
probably
Mm-hmm.
good old Bobby's plan, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, Julian, this is what we used to do: is we used to ride around with a book and look up and look for old stuff,
Yeah.
try to find the old roads.
No
That
website.
should've
I think
been
we found a website at one point that had like pictures of places from like 100 years ago and then now and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and actually, I was just looking through old pictures. Remember when we were going around? We did the 50 license plate game, the license plate game.
Yes.
And we found a fucking Hawaii.
Yeah, we did.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah, that was like one of our
That was like one
things.
of the
Like
first
we
ones
were,
we found, too.
yeah, we spent, it was probably a week. And then we tried to count minivans in Williamsburg. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was
That
hard.
will take
'Cause you,
thousands of hours.
yeah, but no, it was 2 days and we found all 50 plates
Get out of
and stuff.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one of the Dakotas or something, one of those northern plain states was the last one that we found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like I was driving into work and I randomly saw it. Like, oh, Pete, I got it.
Yep.
So random.
We did that for a while. That was fun. And everybody's like looking at us like crazy. Like, where are you guys going? Like,
We did
let's
some of
go
the
find
dumb
license
shit.
plates.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you guys like? How old are you? We're like, we're only 14. Okay.
I know. I'm like, I do that with my child. Like
Yeah.
over the summer, I'm like, we were counting like non-New York plates, but we actually found some pretty, I thought like outlandish plates where I was like, oh, I've never seen, Kansas, or I've never seen like, all these places that like we saw New Mexico, and I was like, New Mexico here in New York, like that's
Mhm.
quite a ride.
Where cheaper insurance down there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But how do you
yes,
get your car from Hawaii here? Like that doesn't even seem financially like a good idea. Like,
Honestly, probably someone brought it up to me later on. It's probably a military person. So they'll send your car over there. I mean, it takes time, obviously, but they'll send your car over if you're gonna be stationed there a while.
Oh,
that's nice.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is nice. Yeah. So what are you doing next there, Rob? What's your
Next what?
what's your next move? You gonna be the boss over there?
No.
No.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Since my supervisor is retiring, but there's another one there already. Hopefully he takes that position over. And I don't know, they're gonna put it out. We'll see what happens there. I just recently took over the controlled substances there, which is a bigger headache than I expected.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Just the amount of state reporting you got to do, the paperwork, the follow up, restock.
Mm,
Here's this form, fill it out 6 times and put it in 6 different spots.
yeah.
It's-
You guys don't have any diversion issues, right?
No.
No?
I mean, like, when I was going through it finally, we have like 24 usages in total over the course of the year,
Yeah.
Like, we get 2 usages a month. That's normal, so
Yeah.
diversions rarely happen. It has happened out
Yeah.
here. But my agency have been lucky, I guess, in
That's
that respect.
yeah, but you hear those stories, bro. It's like, yo, why did you do this?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get jammed up eventually. So
Yeah, there was one person who worked for us, and after he moved on, he got caught doing so. It wasn't even controlled substances, but with another medication.
yeah.
But everywhere I work has been good as far as I know.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened. But that's one of those things. Like when I'm doing the inspections on the pouches, and I check all the medications. I got to spin the vials to make sure that no one tampered with the vials and all that stuff.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
There was that guy in it was Kansas City. He gave like the most amount of medication, like fentanyl or something, more than like anybody in the entire city. So like he was responsible for most of the narcotics administration.
Yeah, we actually, we had one person like that here. But he was just very generous with the drugs. Like I was with him with a lot of his ministry. He
Oh.
worked on my day. He just really
Yeah.
liked controlled substances, and
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Like for you and I, we're kind of hesitant on, broken bone will splint it and you'll feel better. Is broken
Yeah.
bone, give him the drug, then splint it is his route.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right or wrong, but
No, I mean, some people are just like the other day we had a shot and the guy got shot through and through the knee. And he wasn't the nicest person ever. He was kind of like a young, sort of entitled, jerky guy. But like he was obviously in pain from the tourniquet, like it probably didn't need to be put on, but one of the police officers put it on him right away, which I appreciate. Like they really have saved lives with those tourniquets.
yeah.
But I was like, probably didn't need it, but we're not going to take it off. Like, so that I felt like we kind of were like, should we not? And I was just like, that's got to be like really like the most painful thing ever, so we gave it but it actually, he was still like pretty awake and crabby after that, right? Like, but that a tourniquet around your thigh, I'm sure, is not the best feeling in the world,
No, and they, it's always been said that a tourniquet applied properly, a tourniquet's gonna hurt anyway. So
Yeah.
We've always found that like when you give a tourniquet to somebody who really needs it, they don't make a sound.
Yeah, because they've
That
already
was the
lost
one
blood,
interesting
they're
thing that,
cocky.
yeah.
But we did them years ago when I did my return to duty, like when I was out on childcare leave and I came back, they basically put me through like kind of what we call the top class. I guess it's now like the PES class. And that was one of the things like when they were learning tourniquets, because back when before I had a kid, we didn't do tourniquets, it was like the last resort kind of deal. And now it's like not. And so we all put a tourniquet on ourselves and left it for like, 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, it was like, get this shit off. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so excruciating, like how it works is, what it's supposed to be doing. But yeah, so I feel bad when someone's got a tourniquet on and like he kept trying to, like he was like pulling at it, like he was like trying to like let it up, and it was just like, I was like, no, don't take that off, but
it's funny, bro. Like when we were together, we never used tourniquets. You know what I mean? And now like me and her, it's like every other month we're putting something's going on.
I think maybe once I ever put it on down there, and it wasn't with you. I think it was me and Sean that time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember that guy actually impaled himself on a fence. It was nice. He got off the fence, went home, and his wife had him in the hallway stepping on the wound.
What?
A good one. I thought he got stabbed at first. It took a while before he finally like came to and realized what was going on. Explained what happened.
How did he end up on the fence?
I don't know. He was intoxicated. He doesn't know how it happened. He just remembers being on the fence. It wasn't like it wasn't a 6-foot fence. It was a smaller one. I don't want to call it a fence, but like decorative.
Yeah.
Like fencing around.
Yeah.
Kind of. He was remarkably intoxicated and he stumbled home and his wife was like, stepped on it and there was blood everywhere.
Wow.
He got a tourniquet.
Yeah.
Intoxes, man, like they end up in weird places.
Yeah.
I know. I always feel like that's one of those sad things that like, like drinking can really end in like very tragic sort of circumstances. Like years ago on an ambulance run on New Year's Eve, it was like a house party, which seems like a pretty safe bet, on New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
But the guy fell through a glass table, like he fell through like a coffee table and eviscerated himself, so it's like, like, when you're that trashed, like you don't really realize like what's going on. And, you think being at a house party on New Year's drunk is probably a safer thing than going out into the city.
We did New Year's Eve. Remember that?
Yeah, we did. Times Square.
We did.
Beautiful place.
Oh, yeah. We didn't do anything. And then after midnight, it was like
all hell broke loose.
Like a bomb went off and it was like, go over here, go over there, go over here, go over there. And it was so cold and stuff.
How was that cold that night?
It was really cold. We had like one girl, she walked away from the party. Remember that she was like in a cocktail dress.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And she ended up in like some random building. She had no idea where she was. She had no ID, nothing. And we're like, do you know her? They're like, no, we have no idea. And I felt really bad for her because she couldn't tell us her name, where she was staying, where she was from.
Uber ride and the Uber driver just pushed her out the door kind of deal.
Yeah. So I'm just, I'm glad that it was a kinder, gentler New York than back in the 80s and stuff. So
Manhattan. Yeah, that was Manhattan that we did that job in.
Yeah, it was by the tunnel, I think. Yeah. So we still get them now. Like, we had some chick, she was from Florida and she was laid out in the street.
Oh yeah.
Dressed in some club attire, and it was like,
You could
Generously
smell
my
her
worked.
God.
good.
Yeah.
oh my God. I don't know. So
But she was like annihilated where we got her into the ambulance and it was like halfway to the hospital before she woke up.
yeah,
And
I
then,
think it was cold too. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Her main concern was just like she didn't have insurance. And I was like,
Yeah.
you were in the gutter, like, so that's not
Big things
good.
to worry about.
yeah, they don't believe you
I
and
know.
stuff. So yeah. All right. Well, Rob, thank you.
I
You're
know.
welcome.
Thanks, Rob.
Lots of
Yeah.
stories shared.
Yeah.
Come back on. Maybe we'll finish talking about how we got here in life.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
I
But
wish
you-
we could like
yeah.
steal you away to ride with us, like as a
I know.
third thing. I wonder if they would.
Central Rock the bus behind the 744 Gates Avenue on 750 Gates Avenue. 10-4.